What's going on, everyone? My name's Alpha, and today we're back with another Pokemon Challenge video. Today we're on Pokemon Radical Red 3.1, newest update, whatever. Recently I saw in my comments that someone asked me if I could beat Pokemon Radical Red without ever attacking or using only status move, and I thought, yeah, I did this in the past, why not do it again? This is on the newest update, so a lot has changed since I've done it in like I think a year ago, 2 years ago at this point. I'm not even too sure, so we're gonna try our best at trying to beat Radical Red 3.1 using only status moves. So I can't use any move that has any power on the top. So if you guys don't know, I'm trying to break it down to you guys. Pokemon moves are broken down to two different categories, either attacking or status moves. Status are generally moves that are passive and don't do direct damage most of the time, or like a setup move or like a stat boosting move. And while attacking moves obviously have power and it calcs your attacking stats into the calcs, and then it does damage directly. So we're gonna try to avoid doing any attacking damage at all, and we're gonna have to do passive damage only by using status moves. It's gonna be pretty fun. Before I get into the video though, I have one more rule for this challenge video. Each of my Pokemon will be nicknamed after you guys in the comments, so thank you so much for leaving a comment in my previous challenge video. We have a lot of nicknames for this video, so thank you for leaving a nickname in the previous challenge video. If you guys want to be nicknamed after a future Pokemon in my future challenge video, just drop in the comments and hopefully I'll pick yours. And while you're down there, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. It means a lot to me. And let's get into the challenge video itself. So I actually integrated a screen so you can watch me do the calculations and see my brain process as I look through the first few routes on Radical Red encounter list and see which Pokemon are pretty good. I settle on, even though Chespin also gets lead seed, I settle on having Bulbasaur as my starter Pokemon because I really enjoy having Bulbasaur. Even though I lose the first battle, I use Tackle on the first battle, but I plan on losing the first battle anyways because we don't get leech seed just yet. I also use rare candies obviously because it's quicker training and quicker grinding. It doesn't change the game at all, just saves a bit of time. But I won't show you every single encounter you'll see on my screen, who are important and who are not, but I want to show you some key points and some strategy. I'm also not going to break down each of the battles because I think that would just be redundant. You'll see why in a little bit. A Pokemon that we really want to get for sure is a Tentacle because it sets up Toxic Spikes, and you'll see how important that is in a little bit. And once we get into Pewter City, a very special Pokemon I think I have like throughout my entire run is going to be here. We get ourselves a Pharaoh Seed, which is one of the most ridiculous Pokemon in the world, and you'll see why. You guys do know how Pharaoh Seed and Ferrothorn works. They're just pretty broken for this type of challenge. But from here, we're going to face off against the first mini boss in the game. We're going to face off against Falkner, and now Toxic Spikes is not going to be useful in this battle at all, but Burn and any type of toxic or poison move is pretty good in itself. I also have Curse on my Ghastly, which is really useful, and I just want to wither away. It takes a very long time. Even Confuse Ray, we're just using every single status move possible. Confuse Ray, Burn, just switching in between just to waste turns is just how we're going to try to beat this game. This first Falkner fight is actually one of the more difficult fight. Luckily enough, we do get ourselves together, and finally we get a Curse off on the Corvisquire, so we can actually switch out, and eventually it's going to go down in 4 turns, and there goes the battle. So luckily enough, we do beat Falkner, which isn't too difficult. From there, we face off against Brock next. Brock is a decently hard fight. All we gotta do really is to Will-O-Wisp the first Pokemon, which is gonna be Geodude, and then allow myself to send in my Tentacle to Toxic Spikes up against the Arcan, and then I can switch out into my other Pokemon. I can switch out into my Sandygast, I can switch out into my Ghastly. Eventually, I want to get a Leech Seed off against the Vulpix to regain some of my HP, and then go into my Ghastly to get a Curse on it to make sure it goes down. And then eventually I am able to bait in the self-destruct from the Geodude, which is amazing. I don't know how that worked. I also got a lot of HP back because I was baiting in a Leech Seed. And finally, his Onix is not too big of a deal, as I'm just going to weaken him down with my Pharaoh Seed. And all I got to do now is get a Curse off using my Ghastly against the Arcan, which I do at the end. And I'm able to beat the Onix super easily. Again, I'm not going to try to run the entire battle down. I'm just going to try to run through the strategy real quick. From there, we're going to head into Cerulean City, which isn't too difficult. We went through Mount Moon, very easy, and then we go into Cerulean City and face off against Misty. Main objective against Misty is to set up Toxic Spikes, so we get a layer of spikes that causes toxic poison and not regular poison. Toxic poison builds up over time and does more damage. It's actually more beneficial for us to get a Bally poison than a regular poison, which ironically more people on the competitive scene use regular poison. I think it does more damage in a single turn than Bally poison. We actually weaken now. Unfortunately, we do lose our Tentacle. My Bronzor and I have a Ladian. I just didn't want to nickname after someone because I didn't want them to be named after Ladian. No one should be subjected to be nicknamed after Ladian because it's just garbage. Luckily enough, we get through the Starmie. The Ladian Ledian's purpose is to set up screens, to set up reflect, set up light screen, maybe get a confuse in there, but that's his only purpose, as all I gotta do is waste some turns. I can switch in between to waste turns and not waste PP, but at the end of the day, all we gotta do is just kill the Frogadier with poison, and we end up beating Misty super easily. Now we're gonna move out into the Egg Merchant in Cerulean City and get ourselves a Milk Tank, which is going to be super sick. If you ever played against Whitney in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, I think everyone should know this by now, but Milk Drink is a great move. We also get the TM for Rest in Diglett Cave, and also get ourselves a Chinchou, which has Volt Absorb as a natural ability, which is super nice. So we're going to be set up pretty well to face off against Lieutenant Surge, which is going to be the next gym in the game. We're going to start the battle off against Surge using my Ledian. Funny enough, I use a light screen in front of him and then switch into my Garbodor. Garbodor I actually prefer over Tentacool because it sets up Toxic Spikes without really having like a weakness to everything, and it's pretty tanky from my understanding, as I'm able to get the Pincurchin pretty low on the Toxic Spikes, and then I'm able to, I never use this, Eerie Impulse. I've never used this move ever. I didn't know it lowers the special attack. It's actually a pretty good move. I just didn't know what it did. From there though, Lieutenant Surge is going to switch out into his Manectric, which I go out into my Pharaoh Seed, bait in the fire move. I was actually under the impression my Miltank actually had thick fat. That's why I switched into my Miltank on the fire moves. But it doesn't. It just tanks the hit pretty well. It has Sap Sipper, and that'll be useful for the next gym. But yeah, it does not have thick fat. I'm able to knock out the Manectric using my Lantern. Well, using everyone, just wasting turns. And then a Bolton comes on next. I'm able to Confuse Ray. I'm okay with taking damage on my Lantern because eventually I'll bait in the Vigavolt to use some electric moves on him to regain my HP. Get a poison powder on him because he's flying, so Toxic Spikes doesn't hit him. And eventually I am able to bait in the entire team. I just waste some turns. Lucky enough, Miltank is a very strong Pokemon. It could take, I think, 2 Volts, which is from the Vigavolt, and 2 Psyshocks from the Raichu, I think. Roughly enough, I am able to knock out the Raichu, and then his final Pokemon will be the Vigavolt, which I stayed in, eventually just wasting enough turns. Eventually his Vigavolt will go down, and I end up getting the 3rd gym badge. Now each of these battles take a long time. If you guys haven't seen, I do have the speed up button on, so it's still taking me like 4 or 5 minutes per battle. Anyways, we're gonna head into Celadon City and get ourselves a Link Cable to evolve ourselves a Gourgeist and also our Gengar, which I don't think I use Gourgeist too much. Well, sorry for nicknaming you after Gourgeist and not using you. From there, we're going to face off against the 4th gym leader in the game. We're going to face off against Erica. Now, Erica comes with a different challenge than usual. We're able to set up Toxic Spikes, obviously, but once we actually force him out into his Venusaur, he actually absorbs the Toxic Spikes because he's also Poison type. So we actually want to avoid that. So we want to go for Toxic on the Rillaboom to start. Make him U-turn into his Venusaur, and then we can start doing new things. Her Venusaur comes out next. I go out into my Gourgeist. Actually, I use Gourgeist. I take it back. Gourgeist just to bait in the Sludge Bomb, so I can switch out into my Salazzle, and Salazzle has Corrosion, which allows it to actually poison Steel types and Poison types, which actually works out for me because Venusaur is now poison. All I gotta do is waste some more turns. I go out into my Gourgeist to switch into my Ferrothorn and switch back and forth. So eventually the Venusaur will go down, which is actually huge for us because that's the biggest wall on our team since it actually absorbs all the Toxic Spikes. And eventually against the Rillaboom, I go out to my Garbodor, which will set up Toxic Spikes, which basically seals the game for me as I'm able to Toxic Spikes up against Electrode. And then from there, the rest of our team will get poisoned. All I gotta do is go out into my Miltank and my Venusaur, switch in between them, switch in between my Ferrothorn actually, and just Milk Drink in front of the Superior because it can actually use Leaf Storm. So I'm just basically stalling out everything. Even though it's not toxic badly poison, it still does a lot of damage over time, and eventually I learned what Captivate does. Captivate only affects the opposing Pokemon if they're a different gender from you. So you learn a new move every day. But eventually we can Toxic Stall down the Rillaboom and end up beating down Erica. And we get the 4th gym edge. We made this far without using a single attacking move so far. From there, we're going to buy ourselves a Dratini with Multi-Scale and also Aegislash, because Aegislash is just super broken as a Pokemon. From there, we're going to move out into facing off against Giovanni. Giovanni's actually not too difficult, as you see. I did bring out my Cofagrigus because it blocks most of the Kangaskhan's moves, so it's actually pretty useful here. And we just got to bait down the Honchkrow. We have Protect as a move. We bought it at the Celadon Arcade. And we also get Toxic as a move, so everyone gets Toxic too. From there, we're going to actually go up into the Skyscraper and get ourselves an Eevee, which we're going to turn into the Umbreon later on. And then from there, we're going to head into Silph Co, which, as you can see, every single battle it's a drain. You just have to switch in between every single thing. You have to approach every single battle almost roughly the same because they're pretty easy. It's just they take a long time because you have to stall out every single Pokemon in every single person's team. We beat a rival in Silphco at least, and also against Ariana and Archer, we have a team member, Brendan, that can use attacking moves. So at the very least, he can speed up the battle for us, but it's not that quick at all. Eventually, he's able to beat Ariana and Archer for us as we're going to face off against Giovanni next. Giovanni isn't too difficult. I just blatantly say it. Giovanni's not too difficult in the status move only run. His biggest threat is his Excadrill that can outspeed and Sword Sense against us. But we waste so many turns that his Hippowdon Sand actually goes away. So it doesn't really do too much for us as we're able to Leech Seed with my Venusaur and knock him out super easily. We also got an Impidimp, which is going to be pretty useful. We also change up our team for the very, very difficult gym battle. This gym battle is difficult because it's a double battle fight in psychic terrain, and Hatterene has magic bounce, so we have to be very, very careful of how this. Our game plan for this is actually to bait out the Indeedee to hit my Hatterene first, Calm Mind using my Hatterene, then use Destimon using my Gengar to knock out the Hatterene with it. So even though Trick Room's up, I think Trick Room should be fine. Since we have Protect, we could waste a lot of turns anyways. We're able to finally get that done as we're able to Destiny Bond, knock out the Hatterene, which is huge. And then I could rest up against the Indeedee and also the Ursaluna. So I get my HP back on my Hatterene, and I switch out into my Umbreon to get a Toxic off against the Indeedee, which at this point I gotta waste some turns. It should be fine. They don't do too much damage to me. I predicted the high horsepower with my Dragonite. I chose Dragonite because in my head, multi-scale with Roost always being at full HP means nothing's gonna one-shot me ever unless they have Mold Breaker, and that was my that's my thinking of how to use Dragonite in this entire game. Don't worry, I snapped out of it very quickly and I stopped using Dragonite, but it's just an idea. You gotta use ideas sometimes. And against the Gardevoir, I just need a Toxic on him and then Protect Stall everything. Essentially, everything's gonna go down to Toxic. I just switch out, make the right predictions. Also, even though my Grimmsnarl does not have Prankster right now, it does have screens, so I can set up a Light Screen and Reflect. So it's much better, Ladian. I say that, but it goes down. It doesn't even have Prankster, so how much better is it? All we gotta do is get a Poison on the Porygon 2, and that should be it, as I have Rest on both my Pokemon, and also Aroma Mist, which a second move that I learned today, which actually boosts your allied Pokemon's special defense. It's actually huge. Really cool move that I'll never use again. But from there, we're gonna go into Cycling Road, and again, I told you guys, this is why Ferrothorn is broken. It knocked out the entire team of this guy, this random guy on Cycling Road. One of the hardest routes, in my opinion. It's just, he sweeps down, surprisingly. Ferrothorn is very, very good. From there, we're also going to have access into Egg Moose, which we start using pretty well. We're going to add Leech Seed onto my Ferrothorn, which I kind of had a midlife crisis of what to get rid of, because I wish he had 5 moves. I wish my Umbreon could get 5 moves as well, but alas, we have to give up something. From there, we're going to face off against Morty and beat down Morty, obviously, and get ourselves a Gingarite, which is going to be useful for us. As we're also going to face off against Koga, which is going to be the 6th gym leader in the game, and we're going to start the battle off against him using my Aegislash, because I know it absorbs a Boom Burst pretty easily, and I get a Toxic off against him. I don't need to use Destimon just yet. Destimon's a nice move. I have leftovers on my Aegislash just to recover HP. That's a huge brain move right there. I should have had something else, maybe like Amnesia. Does it learn Amnesia? Maybe something like that, or anything, but my Aegislash gets pretty low on HP, but we end up knocking out. From there, even though he has a poison team specifically, I switch out to my Ferrothorn and I get an easy Leech Seed on him, and also Leech Seed with my leftovers makes Aegislash so broken as he gets up to full HP. Against this Dragapult, I'm able to Toxic him as well, and then Wish Up. Things are so easy against it. This is so free. Like, I swear, somehow status move is so easy. Snorlax, I didn't even nickname Snorlax because I forgot, but Snorlax plays a little role. This is the only time I really use Snorlax, but I yawn down the Greninja. It puts it to sleep, which is nice and all. From there, I'm able to poison it down, and then I could just basically knock out the rest of his team. His Drapion isn't too big of a deal, ironically enough, because I could switch out into my Aegislash and I could Destiny Bond. Wait, what? I sack my Aegislash to the Greninja? Not even using Destiny Bond correctly? I don't know why. Maybe the AI got a lot smarter than I thought with Destiny Bond, but maybe it's a Toxic into the Greninja, and also I'm a Protect Stall against the Drapion. What am I doing? Oh my god, I'm gonna make the Drapion struggle. Oh no, I switched out to my Ferrothorn and Leech Seeded. Okay. I thought I was going to make the Drapion struggle to death, but no. That's later. I'm able to Leech Seed, knock out the Drapion, and end up beating Koga, which is pretty nice. From there, I'm going to go face off against Price next. Dumb idea. I don't ever use this item, but I got a Choice Scarf anyways because it's more of my routine. From there, we're going to lose to Maze Breloom because this thing actually walls me somehow. Yes, Poison Heal is also not affected by Leech Seed, so it's very difficult. Also, I couldn't predict it on when it's gonna attack me, and it can actually knock out my Aegislash, so I can't Destiny Bond him at all. So we end up losing to the Breloom, and then we got very close to this battle too. Lucky enough, I did not get confused, and I wished up, and I'm able to knock out the Braviary. From there, we're going to face off against the 7th gym leader in the game. We're going to face off against Blaine next. Blaine is going to be the fire type gym leader, and we're going to start the battle off against him using my Garbodor. Garbodor can Toxic Spike, which I don't know is the best idea, but it forced him to explode on his 3rd turn. Also get a Badly Poison on his Sunflora, which is nice. From there, I'm able to go out to my Toxapex and then just Baneful Bunker and Recover, switch out into my Gengar for some reason, protect again. Oh, it's to protect against the Earth Power. But then I'm able to knock out the Sunflora, and then the Charizard comes out. Obviously, he's not going to get hit with the Toxic Spikes, but I'm able to hit him with a Toxic because I'm also a Poison type, so Toxic doesn't ever miss on a Poison type, so that's cool. I survive a Solar Beam pretty easily because I'm a Toxapex. And from there, I could just weaken him down, just protect stall him, all that great stuff. Also, against the Cinderace, I bait out. I thought he's going to use a different move. I don't know why I thought he's going to use a different move, but I sack my Ferrothorn for some reason. And then he's getting High Jump Kick into my Aegislash. But from there, I'm able to Toxic, King Shield in front of the Exeggutor, eventually knock out the Exeggutor as well. And his final Pokemon will be a Typhlosion, which not too big of a deal here. All I gotta do is just sack my Aegislash, go out to my Toxapex, poison him, and that should be the end of the battle. Surprisingly enough, even though my Pokemon are low in HP, I have every Pokemon on my team has Protect. It's just that easy. Like, I have Protect on every single mon. From there, once we beat down Blaine, we get a 7 gym badge in the game. We're also going to be forced to face off against Archer and Ariana in this back-to-back fight. Lucky enough, against Archer, we don't lose too many Pokemon. I think we lose 1 Pokemon in total, so that wasn't too bad. Not a bad trade-off. No, I take it back. We didn't lose a single Pokemon against Archer. Our Pokemon are low, but that should be fine as we face off against Ariana. And all we gotta do is keep my Ferrothorn, Iron Defense, Leech Seed him, and then she can't break through as I'm able to beat her down with just my Leech Seeding Ferrothorn. And then from there, Umbreon actually walls the entirety of Giovanni's team. As you see, I'm able to beat down Mega Mewtwo Y using just my Umbreon. Even though it's an Aura Sphere, I'm able to just beat it down. I also Leech Seed stun the Celesteela, so I'm able to switch in between my Toxapex and Umbreon to eventually knock out the Mewtwo, and we end up beating Giovanni in that fight. From there, we're going to face off against Claire next. Claire is actually a pretty easy fight. It gets difficult at the end, but we'll get there when we get there. We're going to start the battle off against her. I just want to start cheesing. I use my Gengar to Hypnosis into the Aerodactyl, Parasong Song into him, and then Hypnosis again, just to waste some turns. And then for some reason, I didn't go for a Protect. I went for Hypnosis as he's already asleep. He goes for a Taunt, which is unfortunate, but I could struggle 1 turn, and then I could go into my Umbreon just to let him die to Parasong. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just messing around at this point. Then I could go out into my Gengar once again against his Naganadel, and then Destiny Bond, he's getting Draco Meteor into me, and then Destiny Bond takes down the Naganadel as well. Our next Pokemon will be a Dragonite, which I'm able to Leech Seed into him and Toxic. I'm able to protect and just basically wall it down as I go into my Toxapex and my Ferrothorn, just to waste turns against the Dragonite specifically. Even though it has Fire Punch, is unable to beat a Ferrothorn, and her next Pokemon will be a Duraludon. It Steel Beams me. I get a Leech Seed off. I get some recovery off against him, but then she's going to switch out to Magearna. I'm able to Leech Seed into her, and then go out to my Garbodor, which will actually waste all her turns, which is kind of funny. I finally put rest on my Garbodor, so I'm able to recover HP, and I broke through sleep on the right turn as I'm able to Toxic into the Dracovish, and then I can switch out to my Ferrothorn. Even though it's poison, I'm able to 1v1 it. Ferrothorn is just unfair. Jeez, it doesn't make any sense. I go out into my Aegislash against the Duraludon and Destiny Bond it, catch it in Destiny Bond, and then her final Pokemon will be a Magearna, which I switch into my Toxapex. It cannot break my Toxapex ever. It will never ever break my Toxapex, which is so sad. It will also won't break my Umbreon, surprisingly enough, because it has 2 recovery moves and Toxic and Protect. It's just a nasty set. If you do this in competitive battle, it's annoying and you're messed up as a person. But if you do this in single player, this is just cheesing the game, because he just has Toxic and he has Synchronized. So even though if it bounced back Toxic to me, it would still get poisoned. So I wasted a good like 3 minutes, just speeding up, wasting PP on Hatterene until I finally tossed it into him, and then I found out that it has Synchronized again. So I'm able to beat Hatterene like this. I could have beat Hatterenes like this the entire time, but we end up beating the Hatterene. I think that's the last Hatterene you will see. Funny enough. From there, we're going to beat down Brendan as well. Brendan's not too difficult. We just get poison him and Toxapex, Umbreon, just all the good stuff. From there, we're going to head into the Pokemon League. There is some a few more things for us to do actually. Firstly, I want to go out and beat down Chuck first to get the Focus Sash. Once I get the Focus Sash, that's actually going to be pretty useful for us. And then I'm going to actually replace my Garbodor with my Grimmsnarl. It's kind of sad to see Garbodor being gone, but I think Grimmsnarl is going to be a little more useful because it has priority Reflects and Light Screen whenever it wants. Also has priority Toxic, so it's actually a little more useful than Garbodor. And also have Toxic Spikes on my Toxapex. Overall, it's not too useful. All its roles have been covered. From there, we're going to face off against the very first Elite Four member in the game. We're going to face off against Lorelei, and finally, we face off against her water team. I really did not want to face off against her ice team. We're going to start the battle off against her water team using my Gengar and also my Toxapex. Toxapex needs to set up Toxic Spikes for us, even though I go for a Baneful Bunker and Hypnosis on a Poliwrath. From there, I am able to Reflect type into the water types and then Parasong into them and get up another Toxic Spikes, which is pretty free. From there, I'm going to Protect and also Recover using my Toxapex. They go down to Parasong 1, which actually forced all of them out, which doesn't exactly work to how I wanted to, but it works out. Everything gets poisoned eventually, as I'm able to set up a Reflect and Light Screen with my Grimmsnarl. So already paying dividends using my Grimmsnarl. I'm able to Leech Seed into the Kyogre and the Dracovish. And look at all this. This is so annoying to watch, but I am able to just beat down the entire team of Lorelei. She can't break through my Ferrothorn, which is crazy. And I switch out to my Toxapex, and now there's two things she can't break through. Like, look at my health. Look at how insane Ferrothorn's health is. It just regains his full HP, eventually knocking out the Swampert and the Kingdra. And then her final two Pokemon, her Politoed and Poliwrath, are still there. They finally get poisoned, and they'll get beat down. They can't break through my impeccable defense, as you can see. Eventually, they actually break through my Ferrothorn, but obviously my last Pokemon is Aegislash still, so I'm able to knock out Politoed, and we end up beating Lorelei pretty easily. From there, though, we're going to face off against Bruno next. Bruno's going to be the Fighting type Elite Four member, and I'm going to start the battle off against him using my Gengar. Surprisingly, I'm not really using Destiny Bond a lot, but in this fight, I'm actually in. I'm going to go for a Hypnosis, and then go for a Parasong immediately to just whittle it down, just to make sure it's on a timer. And I have Shadow Tag, so we can't actually switch out. I'm going to Reflect type into their Shifu, and then I'm going to Protect, even though it goes through Protect. From there, Parasong count it went to 1, so I switched out into my Aegislash and knock out their Shifu, keeping intact my Gengar, which will be useful later on, as also I'm able to tank an Earthquake from the Terrakion and Toxic into him. From there, I can switch out into anyone, will be pretty good. I'm able to go out to my Grimmsnarl and Reflect up against the Terrakion, Protect, Reflect, all that great stuff, eventually knocking out the Terrakion, and then the Scizor will come out as the next Pokemon. I go out into my Ferrothorn, which maybe not the best play. I tank a Superpower pretty easily, Leech Seed into the Scizor, and then I can switch out into my Aegislash, which will 1v1 against the Scizor, surprisingly. And then I'm able to knock out the Scizor. His next Pokemon is going to be a Conkeldurr. I go out into my Gengar. Gengar has nothing really else to do but just mess around too much. Parasong into him, Hypnosis, Parasong into him, Reflect type, Protect. He's down to count 1 as I go out to my Aegislash, take a Mach Punch obviously, and then the Conkeldurr will go down. His next Pokemon will be a Zacian. I go for a Destiny Bond immediately because I don't want to really mess around with this thing. This thing could actually sweep my team. I knock out the Zacian, and then his final Pokemon will be a Lucario, which I get a Light Screen up against, and then I'm able to Leech Seed into him, and that should do it, as I just gotta waste the turns. Even though he's boosted up with obviously a Nasty Plot, I'm not gonna really mess with him too much. I'm able to just Protect every other turn, switch out into all my other Pokemon just to take all the hits pretty well, eventually knocking out Bruno, and we finish off against the second Elite Four member. Now, surprisingly, the next Elite Four member is pretty difficult. We're going to face off against Agatha next. Agatha has two Pokemon that has Prankster, and they will always use Taunt against you, no matter what, and you can actually use Taunt against them. Even if you outspeed, you can actually taunt them. So, my game plan for this was actually going to switch out into my Grimmsnarl and use Reflect 20 times until it runs out of Taunt itself, and then I can go out to my Ferrothorn to Leech Seed and Toxic Stall into the Grimmsnarl finally. And that is my plan to beat Agatha. Well, just Agatha's first Pokemon to begin with. I also get a Toxic Spikes up, which works pretty well. It gets the Marshadow Toxic, which is pretty nice. I'm able to set up another layer and then switch in between my Aegislash and my Ferroseed to eventually knock out the Marshadow, which is nice. Her next Pokemon will be her own Mega Gengar, which, because it didn't Mega yet, also I'm a Ghost type, so I can switch out anyways. But I can switch out into my own Mega Gengar and then force it to actually Shadow Ball me as I go for a Destiny Bond, and then it was gonna knock me out as I'm able to end up beating down her Gengar, which is the biggest threat on her team, essentially. I'm also able to just weaken down a Spectre using, I don't know why I switched out to my Aegislash, but I am able to just weaken down the Spectre using my Grimmsnarl, eventually knocking him out, and then her Hydro Gun comes out, which does a lot of damage to me. It gets me paralyzed. I'm able to eventually knock out the Hydreigon using my Toxapex, which is nice. And then the final Pokemon on her team will be a Dragon Ball. It gets badly poisoned, and my Umbreon can pretty much tank it regardless of what it does. So I'm able to knock out Agatha pretty easily. From there, we're going to face up against Lance next. Lance is going to be the 4th Elite Four member in the game. I'm going to go and start using my Gengar Hypnosis Parasong into the Garchomp. It sucks to have to do this against one of my favorite Pokemon, but it ends up not hitting me at all. It sets up Stealth Rocks, which is kind of annoying, but I go out into my Grimmsnarl, which will take the Stone Edge, and then the Parasong will take down the Garchomp. And then his next Pokemon will be a Dialga, his Primal Dialga, which I go out to my Toxapex. I'm hoping for it to Roar Time me into my Gengar, which it does. If I miss my Hypnosis, it's completely fine, because my plan is to just tank a hit from him, then sack my Grimmsnarl here, and then go out into my Gengar once again to Destiny Bond it, and make sure it goes down with me. So I'm able to knock down the biggest threat on his team, which is going to be his Primal Dialga. I go out to my Umbreon against his Dracozolt, which isn't too strong at all. I actually tank a lot of hits from him, surprisingly enough. I'm able to Toxic against him, and then go out to my Ferrothorn, which will get a Protect off, and get a Leech Seed off against him as well. And then for some reason, he switched out to his Melmetal, which does not do enough damage against my Ferrothorn, as I'm able to Leech Seed and also take a double Iron Bash pretty easily. Also his Dragonite. Everything dies to this Ferrothorn, I just realized. I'm able to Toxic Leech Seed into Dragonite, and then eventually just knock him out at full HP. Also full HP, knock out the Melmetal as well. It's just nasty work out here. Knock out the Dracozolt without doing anything, and then his final Pokemon will be a Salamence. Once I get this Toxic off, the battle should be over, which it is, as I'm able to knock out the Salamence without even losing anyone. So that's crazy. I was saying, oh yeah, the Melmetal didn't die, but now it did. So we end up beating Lance with my Ferrothorn, essentially. From there, we're going to face off against the champion of the game. We're going to face off against a rival. We're going to start the battle off against him using my Toxapex, which is pretty free. I get 2 layers of Toxapex for free, as I have a Citrus Berry to back me up, and also I get Toxic on him. And, well, I get a Baneful Bunker Poison on him, which isn't the greatest. Eventually, I get bored, and I switch it to my Aegislash for no reason at all. I switched him out to my Aegislash. I don't know why. He's going to eventually switch out into his Eternatus, which will suck up all the Toxic Spikes. Very annoying. I don't know why I did that. But, yeah, I did that. Then, from there, I'm going to switch out to my Gengar against him. And it works out pretty well, as I'm able to Mega Up, outspeed him, Destiny Bond. He's getting Dynamax Cannon and knock me out. So, yeah. Completely worth it, I guess. From there, I'm going to switch out into my Umbreon against his Yveltal. He's going to go for an Oblivion Wing, which doesn't work against me too well, because I could just recover my HP, and he's on a timer. He goes down on 8 turns, I believe, so Toxic kills you in 8 turns, regardless of whatever happens, so all I gotta do is wait 8 turns. Even though it's going to take a little bit, it's going to eventually knock out the Yveltal, which is huge, as it's unable to really do anything against me. Groudon comes on next. It's going to Precipice Blaze me, but I'm able to get Toxic off against him. I can't risk, obviously, a Moonlight or a Wish here, so I switch out to my Toxapex as it goes for a Fire move. But then I know it's going to go for Blades against my Toxapex, so I'm going to switch out into my Grimmsnarl for some reason. Set up Reflect, sack my Grimmsnarl, okay. But then the Groudon will go down, and then his next Pokemon will be a Pheromosa, which he switches into his Ditto, copies my Toxapex, kind of annoying. I go out to my Ferrothorn to Leech Seed him, and then he's going to double into his Metagross. Very annoying play right there. But I saved it though. I go out into my Aegislash. Aegislash, lucky enough, survives the Fire Punch from the Metagross, and I'm able to Destiny Bond and knock out the Metagross. So that's actually huge for us, as his final Pokemon will be a Ditto. It's badly poisoned already, so eventually he's gonna go down. And oh yeah, other Pokemon's gonna be a Pheromosa. Eventually that thing's gonna go down too. So we're able to beat down Pheromosa and Ditto down easily, and that should be the end. My voice is dying right now because I've been commentating a status move only run. I said I'm not going to talk about all the play-by-play, but I basically did all the play-by-play at the end. But that is the end of Pokemon Radical Red 3.1 using only status moves only. Did I enjoy it? I did enjoy it, surprisingly enough. I did enjoy it a lot. I just didn't know how to commentate at the end because I didn't want to just rush through the entire video. But commentating through the end was very redundant because I just Leech Seed everything. It was pretty fun with my Gengar. I started messing around a lot more with my Gengar. As you guys can see, I Hypnosis, a Parasong, and then I Reflect type him so he can't hit me, and then I could just get a free cheesy knockout. But that should do it. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. If you guys make it to the end, please leave a like, subscribe to my channel, it means a lot to me. And my name's been Alpha. I'll see you guys Saturday for another Hardcore Nuzlocke. But anyways, see you guys then. My name's been Alpha. Hope you guys all have a great day, and I'm out. Peace.